So, welcome back to another episode of the Web3 Insights, where we explore the protocols and people building the decentralized future. Today, I'm joined by Ken Liao, who is the founder and CEO of Xverse, the number one Bitcoin wallet, now closing in on 2 million downloads, I believe, across iOS, Android, and Chrome. But as Ken will explain, Xverse is no longer just a wallet. It's becoming the gateway to everything Bitcoin will be capable of, from adding Starknet support and Lightning integration to rolling out APIs for builders and scaling infrastructure. Xverse is redefining what a Bitcoin wallet can be. So let's get right into it. Ken, thank you so much for coming on. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. For those who don't know you yet, can you share a bit about your background and what inspired you to build Xverse?
Sure. So I have an engineering background, so I've been building software for a really long time. I've got a few years of experience in traditional finance, building financial software, and I got my start in crypto or Bitcoin in 2017, basically. I joined the company called Blockstack at the time, which is now called Stacks. And I was one of the early employees there. We were initially building a naming service like DNS on top of Bitcoin layer 1. And the problem with Bitcoin layer 1 is that if you try to scale that to millions of users, especially for like a end user app, like a naming system, it just doesn't work. It was way too expensive and way too slow. So Blockstack, the company, started building Stacks, which is now a Bitcoin layer 2, which can scale Bitcoin and bring additional functionality through smart contracts. So Stacks is really like kind of kickstarted the Bitcoin L2 narrative ever since 2018. And it was during that time I was working there that I realized there was no wallet infrastructure for a Bitcoin Web3 ecosystem. So I founded Xverse to build this infrastructure and provide that user-friendly experience for Bitcoin users and let them access this Web3 ecosystem of apps and other things. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, an amazing journey for sure. Xverse obviously started as a wallet, but today, it's positioned as something much bigger. How do you define what Xverse is now, and what gap in the Bitcoin ecosystem are you aiming to fill?
So we got started as a Bitcoin wallet that has support for L2s. And along the way, we also added support for some of the Bitcoin layer 1 assets like ordinals and runes. But what we are building towards is essentially a home for BitcoinFi. So decentralized finance on Bitcoin. We are going to be the home and the place for you to find all the different opportunities in DeFi to generate a yield, and also to manage all of your Bitcoin assets, no matter if it's on layer 1, like runes or ordinals, or on a layer 2, like Stacks or Starknet as a Bitcoin L2. So we are bringing together this whole suite of product features and presenting it with a really mainstream friendly user experience. So we've abstracted away a lot of the complexities when it comes to Bitcoin, and any user of Xverse is going to find it very easy to onboard into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And we want to continue to improve that so that we can onboard the mainstream users, people who are not in crypto yet and may find the current experience too complex, and they're kind of scared off essentially.
Yeah, no, of course. I think I always find that that's really key. When I look at these types of things, I always think, is that something my grandma could use or is it not? But for someone new to Bitcoin beyond holding, what can they do with Xverse that they probably don't even know is possible?
Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, borrowing using your Bitcoin as collateral is something that is hard, right? There's some companies out there doing that. However, it's mostly a centralized experience. So you basically have to KYC, deposit your Bitcoin, and things like that. Whereas with Xverse, now this isn't live in Xverse yet, but you can use Xverse as a wallet to connect to these applications on Bitcoin L2s that let you put your Bitcoin up as collateral into a smart contract and borrow stablecoins, USD stablecoins
Mm.
from that, and then spend it, right? And all of this is self-custodial, so you're not giving up custody of your Bitcoin to some centralized entity. It's all locked up in a smart contract where you have some guarantees that only under certain conditions can these Bitcoin be moved, and you know that you can get this back if you repaid your loan. Um,
Mm.
we are working on making this a native experience within our home of BitcoinFi. But right now, you can already experience it by going to the apps directly and connecting your Xverse wallet.
Amazing. You're now nearing 2 million downloads, I believe, or have you hit the 2 million downloads?
Not yet, not yet.
No,
We're
yeah,
getting there.
close.
Yeah.
Nearing it. And obviously you've just announced, some huge integrations. Can you walk us through the most recent updates?
Sure. So we recently launched support for Starknet as a Bitcoin L2,
Hmm.
in addition to other L2s that we're supporting right now in Xverse. So with Starknet, the unique thing that we're looking for is a very advanced smart contract platform, native smart accounts, and the eventual ability to settle onto Bitcoin itself. So right now, Starknet is an Ethereum L2, but they are working towards settling on Bitcoin as well. Um, but that's going to require some small changes to Bitcoin, adding a opcode, which is, Bitcoin has some primitive smart contracts, these opcodes that allow you to do things like verify a zero knowledge proof, for example.
Hmm.
And that needs to be added to Bitcoin in order for Starknet to trustlessly settle onto Bitcoin. Um, but even before that happens, we are going to support Starknet as a Bitcoin L2. Now, you can already use the wrapped Bitcoin assets on Starknet, and use them on these DeFi applications, whether it's borrowing, lending, staking. Um, and we're working towards a future where you can trustlessly settle those transactions onto Bitcoin. You can natively bridge layer one Bitcoin onto Starknet layer two, and then
Nice.
use the Bitcoin in these applications. And another thing that you can do is just make fast Bitcoin payments. Right, Starknet has a confirmation speed way faster than Bitcoin itself,
Hmm.
and the transaction costs also way cheaper. So it actually presents a pretty good alternative to other Bitcoin payment scaling solutions like Lightning, although the trust assumptions here are a little bit different. But it's a really powerful solution for payments.
Yeah.
Um,
At
yeah.
Bitcoin 2025 in Las Vegas, you announced the Lightning integration, I believe. How will this expand Bitcoin's real world utility in the app?
Yeah. So, as a wallet, payments is, of course, very important. And we've been looking into supporting Lightning for quite a while. And the issue with Lightning is that there are some user experience challenges that have been quite difficult to overcome. If you wanted to provide a full self-custodial Lightning wallet experience. A lot of Lightning wallets out there right now, in order to onboard users easily, they are essentially a custodial wallet to start with. They have options for the users to become self-custodial, but initially it's going to be custodial. So that kind of, it's I feel like it's not really living up to the promise of being fully self-custodial and people can be fully in control of their money, right?
Mm.
And then there's difficulty with payment channels where you have to have channels open to your recipient or person sending to you. And that gets really complicated because now you need to have a certain amount of liquidity in those channels in order to transmit the amount of money that you want, right? And recently, we've partnered with another company called Sati to launch a Lightning app within Xverse. So that will
Nice.
immediately allow Xverse users to make Lightning payments and receive Lightning payments with their Xverse wallet. So they would essentially be able to move their layer 1 Bitcoin into Lightning and withdraw out of that Lightning wallet. But we're working on more. And we want to basically provide a fully self-custody Lightning experience using some of the advancements that have been made in recent years. And I think that will complement really well with what we're doing on Bitcoin layer 2s.
Yeah. No, that sounds really exciting. You've obviously been a leader in Stacks support for a while. What's next in terms of multi-layer capability?
So Xverse is going to be layer agnostic. So there are many layer 2 or scaling solutions on Bitcoin, and we would like to support many of those. But we're not going to be favoring one over the other. A lot of these layer 2s all have their own unique properties that make them really good at a certain use case. For Stacks, the unique thing is that it doesn't require any changes to Bitcoin itself. So it's most of what Stacks promises is already out there, already functioning without any changes to Bitcoin. So you can have smart contracts that settle to Bitcoin. There is a bridged Bitcoin on Stacks layer 2 called SBTC that you can already use. And the promise there is also similar in that it's fast confirmations and cheap transactions, and you can now also build decentralized exchanges, AMMs, and other pretty powerful applications using smart contracts. So for us, we've been a supporter of Stacks since day one, but we're going to continue building support for Stacks. For example, we are going to be rolling out the native bridging of Bitcoin onto Stacks through your Xverse wallet soon. And then after that, we're looking into native integration of lending and borrowing through one of the DeFi protocols built on Stacks.
Awesome. That sounds great. Moving on and looking at, building for developers from, a B2B and developer perspective, you just launched Xverse API infrastructure. Can you explain what this means for builders, and how it positions Xverse as more than, a consumer wallet?
Yeah, so we are building a platform, and that platform is going to be used by users and builders. So the story with the Bitcoin API services that we're offering right now is that when we first started building out Xverse, we found it very difficult to scale using the APIs that were available open source and through some other companies. And we decided that we were going to have to build a lot of these things in-house. So things like indexing for Bitcoin UTXOs, indexing for ordinals, for runes, price data, things like that. We built all of this to power Xverse, and all these APIs are battle tested for the scale that we've seen on Xverse Wallet. And what we realized is that there's actually huge demand for other Bitcoin builders to be able to use this API services. So we are launching now the API services to other Bitcoin builders, and they can use the same kind of reliable, comprehensive, battle-tested APIs that Xverse itself uses. And we hope to help a lot of builders and developers build their apps on Bitcoin and connect to Xverse and recommend Xverse as the wallet to their users. Yeah, so there is a API documentation. That's usually the easiest way for developers to get started. So you go to our website at xverse.app/API, and you'll find all the information you need there. We right now we give developers free API keys to get started. So you just have to let us know and we'll give you one. I think we're still like very early in terms of all the Bitcoin scaling solutions. Most L2s haven't really launched their mainnet. They're usually in testing, testnet, or they're still building out the foundations. And I think we will be able to see a lot of these L2s come to fruition in the next, say, year or so. These Bitcoin L2s that have been building for the past 1 year, 2 year, they'll come to fruition, and we'll see which technology is actually going to be working, and which ones will have builders building apps on them. But Xverse is going to be the wallet that's going to power most of these L2s. And we want to make sure that we can bring the best user experience to Bitcoin and power these L2s so that we can onboard the next 100 million to 1 billion users into Bitcoin, into crypto, into Web3.
Amazing. Fingers crossed for it. Final question. What's on your immediate roadmap? More Starknet functionality, further Lightning rollout, or something completely new?
Yeah, we're actually working on integration with another Bitcoin L2, and we haven't announced anything yet, but it's going to be quite exciting because it's very differentiated from the existing L2s that we support.
Yeah.
And also, we are working on adding more Bitcoin yield opportunities to Xverse. So it'll be easier for users to deploy their Bitcoin and generate a yield. What we're going for is essentially an experience where you can put in Bitcoin and get Bitcoin back as reward or yield. I don't think that that really exists out there right now. So we're going to work on that and build it.
Exciting. Any rough guesstimations in and around timelines for these?
Yeah, I think it's all going to happen within the next 6 months.
Wow, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, watch this space for sure. Massive thank you, Ken, for joining us today. Really appreciate your time and coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No, pleasure. Xverse is obviously, proving that, wallets can be more than just, a place to store your Bitcoin. Clearly they can be an entry point to, an entire Bitcoin powered economy. So, really great to get your insights. For those listening, to learn more, do visit xverse.app and check out the latest updates on their social media. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe to Web3 Insights on YouTube and Spotify for more interviews with innovators shaping the decentralized future. Once again, thanks so much, Ken, and thank you for listening.
Thank you.